Thanks, Sanjeev. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on Thrive and talking to our audience. I'm thrilled.
Thank you for calling me, Harsh.
Yeah, great, warm welcome. Thrilled to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So, Sanjeev, so when I look from outside, right, you've done everything one can dream of, like excel in education, founded multiple companies, made them big, invested in new companies, helped them become big. Even received a Padma Shri award, started a university. Now, what's left? Like, what keeps you going now?
Yeah, Harsh, it's like this. You never look at your whatever you've done as an achievement. You keep working every day. So you focus on the now, you're focused on the present, and what am I doing today? What am I doing for the next 3-4 days? What am I doing for the next couple of weeks? And that's it. So I don't plan 3 years ahead. I don't plan 1 year ahead. I focus on the present.
Okay. And what's like, what's next? Like, what is it that you're looking for next?
There's no new big idea. I'm going to be 58 this year. So for the last 10 years, I have been part of a group in the company that has been investing in younger people's new ideas. So I think I'll do more of the same. I'll invest in other people's new ideas as opposed to doing a new company on my own. Because doing a new company takes 10 years, 15 years, takes a lot of energy. And I'm not sure I have tomorrow's ideas.
Okay. But I think talking to young entrepreneurs and new ideas will definitely bring you back to.
Yes, of course. I mean, I really enjoy talking to startups, young entrepreneurs, young people, because I get a lot of energy. I get fresh ideas. I get a perspective. And I get to the thrills of doing a startup without actually doing a startup.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And so talking about the journey back then, like back then, 2006, you did India's first internet IPO. And that time, I remember I just passed out of college and started my investing journey with buying some 1 or 2 HDFC stocks and figuring out how this works. And hearing and learning about IPO is a word that time. Now, what I want to know is like what were the reasons behind that time to take Naukri public, and how do you see the reasons same or different now when the companies are going public?
See, we went public for several reasons. एक तो long term goal था. See, जैसे ही हमने venture capital raise किया, we only raised one round Series A from ICICI Venture, and Series A meant $1.7 million, 7.3 crores, which by today's standards is a very small sum of money, right? We raised that in April 2000. अब शुरू से when we signed the agreement, you see, our long-term goal was to build a big, large, independent company that lasts for decades. Because see, if your goal is to build a great institution, it should hopefully outlive you, right? Great companies last 100 years, 150 years, and take decades to build, and they're the effort of a lifetime, right? So if that is your goal, you can't remain a private company if you've raised venture capital, because venture capital needs the exit.
Yeah.
So we were clear from the time we raised venture capital that कभी ना कभी हम public जाना चाहेंगे. Now we may make it, we may not make it, वो दूसरी बात है. But if we can make it, we would like to do it. So it is a long-term goal. Now, why did we go public? When we went public? At that time, I think China's #1 job site went public around 2004, 2005. I think 5-1 job. And the moment that happened, we didn't think we were ready. We were just going on working. We were a 30-40 crore company, top line. And we got visited by an investment banker, a friend of mine, who said, listen, I think you can go public because this year you will close at 40 crores, next year you will do 80 crores, uske baad you do 140 crores, 150 crores. Roughly 100 crore size pay, we think it is possible for a fast-growing Indian internet company to go public as long as it's reasonably profitable. And we fit that profile. Okay. So I had not realized that it was time until the investment bankers put that seed in my head. So around Feb 2005, we began to explore. We went to Hong Kong, met potential investors, met bankers, met lawyers, right? And figured out. At that time, you could go either public either in the US or in India. Because it was allowed, right? Around June 2005, the government changed the rule and said a company incorporated in India cannot go public overseas without going public in India first. So your first listing has to be India. You can have dual listing, but it's too complicated. So first listing has to be India. So that decision was taken. हम India में जाएंगे, right? For us. Now we began to work on it. By September 2005, we selected the bankers, and it took us 13 months after that to actually go public. We had to do our, we had to get our processes in order. We had to get a second line of management in finance, in the finance area. I had to take a lot of my time and put it towards the IPO. We had to do a stat audit thrice, once in December, once in March, once in June, because clearances kept getting delayed, right? And finally, we were able to go public in October 2006, listing in November.
Okay. And Sanjeev, my second part of the question was actually, nowadays a lot of IPOs are coming in, right? Do you see that they have the similar reasons or the situations, or the predictability of the financials, as you said, was one of the reasons why your friend gave this idea that now it's a time. So do you think the reasons have changed over 15 years, or they're the same?
I think the benchmarks may have changed. You need to be a bit larger. Us समय 100 crore पे could go public. You could have we had a 177 crore, 175 crore IPO. It was a tiny IPO by today's standards. But it was a reasonable size IPO by those days. So I think right now IPOs need to be larger, the valuation need to be higher, and company sizes need to be more. Reasons remain the same. You have to do exit to investors, you need to raise capital for growth, you need to monetize the ESOP, you need to be in different strategic space vis-a-vis competition. हमारे भी वही reasons थे, apart from the long-term goal of going public. So reasons have not changed. Benchmarks may have changed. Company sizes and valuations and size of raise in the IPO may have changed, but reasons have not changed.
Okay. So one more thing I'll pick, Abhijo, that's something that you told, and I found it very interesting. That so you did not think about IPO. आपके कोई friend थे जिन्होंने
suggested? It was a long-term goal, but at that time it was a friend who said, "Yeah, you can go public."
Yeah. Those are the interesting part, Sanjeev, is that so when we started Grow, right? It's been 5-6 years, and a lot of my family and friends who probably not, in the business and the entrepreneurship, they're not interested, but they keep asking, कि अच्छा public हो गए आप या public कब जाओगे? So my question is IPO the right dream for an entrepreneur?
So I think an IPO is great if you are a company that's capable of going public and can handle the listing and can get a good listing. But if you're not ready for it, an IPO can be a terrible thing to do, because there's nothing worse than an orphan stock. Nobody covers you in research. If you are trading below list price, your growth goes away, right? Your profitability goes away. That's a bad IPO. Yeah. You should go public when you have a sustainable business or potentially sustainable business next 1 or 2 years, with growth coming in, with profits going up, right? That's the right time to go public.
And so what I read is it's not an end, it's not a achievement, like it's not really. So do you think that the entrepreneur should look at it as an end goal of things that, okay, now we got public?
It's a big milestone. If you want to go public, it's a big milestone, but life begins afresh after IPO. So मैं ये बोलता हूँ कि when you start a company, if you're the solo founder, in the beginning the company belongs to you. If you have 1 or 2 other co-founders, then the company belongs to 2 or 3 of you, right? But when you raise venture capital, the company doesn't belong to you alone. It also belongs to your investors.
True.
And when you go public, you belong to the company. फर्क ये है, you have taken public money, people have backed you. It's a huge responsibility. The levels of governance and scrutiny are of a different order. Once you're public, be prepared for it. Only then go public.
Yeah. So, Sanjeev, I have over the last few days, I have watched a lot of your videos, a lot of your interviews, and like really insightful about how obsessed you were, and you want the founders to be about customers and interacting directly, connecting with them. And also one thing very interesting I found was that you said somewhere that I'm not good at stock market, understanding the listed, the public stock market. but you've made extremely successful private investments. Now, how do you think is it different, like, the listed companies versus?
No, look, I'll tell you. In the 1992 crash, the Harshad Mehta meltdown, right? Before that, I used to dabble in stocks. But I would never do research. I never had access to research.
Okay.
I would never start stock. I would listen to friends and their opinions, and I would invest, and invariably there were rumors. So and when the market crashed in 92, I had very little money, but whatever I had, it was gone, substantially gone, right? So between 1992 and 2016 or 17, I did not touch the stock market. I said, look, I'm not good at this. Let me do what I'm good at, which is running my own company, running InfoEdge, heading InfoEdge, founding InfoEdge. मैं वो करूँगा. जो मुझे काम आता है, मैं वही करूँगा. So focus on your core competence. Right? That's the only reason. Now, could I have been successful? I'm sure I might have been if I'd followed the right methods, the right research, and done the right thing. But it's just that I had burnt my fingers, and I said, let me focus.
Okay.
And it worked well for me.
Yeah. And do you see difference when you look at the private companies, young startups versus the listed companies which are pretty mature and have a lot of data out there? Like in terms of when you evaluate the two, or if you had to evaluate, how do you suggest like to look at them differently?
So I think more data gives you the ability to analyze, you take more rational choices, right? But also understand the same data is available to every other investor. So has it already been priced into the market, in the price? Right? On the other hand, if you go into a young company, there's not too much data out there. You're making a lot of calls on judgment, on betting on the future. ये बंदा कर सकता कि नहीं? What's the person like? What's the founder like? He or she, can she do it? Is he or she the kind of person who can attract talent? The company is just starting. It's not built a brand. It's not built IPR. It's not built a moat. But आगे जाके हो सकता है क्या? Right? You're making a lot of judgment calls. A lot more than you would do in a listed company, because listed company got more data. There's still some judgment. But that judgment is built on top of a lot of data.
Yeah. So, Sanjeev, just extending, आपने like as an investment team that you made decisions in investing in Zomato, Policy, and a lot of other startups also. So, like, how was the decision making process? Because that was also a little early when you decided, and the companies were sort of ahead of their time. Now we see a lot more companies in this space, but these companies were started really early.
So I'll tell you, we did Policy Bazaar in 2008, right? And this is pre-product, pre-revenue, pre-everything. It was Yashish Daya across the table with a PowerPoint, right? So now Hitesh, who's the co-promoter of InfoEdge and is the CEO and MD right now of InfoEdge, he and Yashish had been classmates in school and in college in IIT Delhi, in the same hostel as well, right? And I had known Yashish for a little bit because I had gone on I was taking a few guest lectures at Ahmedabad, and Yashish was in my class. So I knew him. I didn't know as well as his name, but I knew him. So when Yashish thought of Policy Bazaar, he came to us and he sat across the table and he said, I'm willing to bet you're paying 60% more for your car insurance than you need to. And I said, don't be silly. Public sector company insurance, how could it be overpriced? It's a sarkari price, a standard price hoga. He says, no, I guarantee you, you have no idea of the same policy sold by different companies. The same person for the same car can have very different prices. So he said, take out your car details. So from my backpack, I took out my car insurance papers. I said, ye gaadi hai, ye hai. Okay. And he went online and queried some databases somewhere, some spreadsheet somewhere, and he took out some 8-9 quotes after about 20 minutes of doing that. And sure enough, the lowest quote was 40% lower than mine, what I was paying. And I was surprised. He said there's huge opacity and huge difference in insurance prices which customers don't know. You just buy the insurance your car dealer sells you because you trust him. It comes with the car. Then every year you renew it because आपको renewal reminder आ जाता है. And it's mandatory. आप कर लेते हो. Right? And the penny dropped, and I said, this is a very powerful value prop. Compare before you buy insurance. ये चलेगा. इस पे कस्टमर आएंगे. Because I was really surprised to learn I was paying for all those years I'd be paying 40% higher. Okay, that's how we decided to invest.
Okay.
Good guys, known to us, well qualified, dynamic, seemed to be go-getter. Hitesh knew him, I knew him a bit. I Delhi, Ahmedabad, worth a bet. Powerful value prop, worth a bet.
Okay.
Okay. अब आगे जाके क्या होगा हमें मालूम नहीं था, बट हमने डाल दिया पैसे ऑन फेथ, some judgment, some faith, some data, very little data, some knowledge, right? Some notion ये चलेगा. Zomato, we invested in 2010, right? So Zomato used to be called Foodiebay.
Yeah.
They changed the name later. So I'm a bit of a foodie. My son is a foodie. We used to go to Foodiebay. The Foodiebay was a unique site. There were other restaurant sites, but Foodiebay was the only one with all the menu cards of all the restaurants. So my son and I would visit, and we'd figure out where are we going for lunch this weekend. क्या चीज कहाँ पे available है, कितने, what is the price, all that. We could plan the whole order before going. And we used to do that. Now, separately, I used to like it. I used the site for about 6 months or so. And then, Hitesh had also been using the site. And Hitesh mentioned to me once, boss, have you looked at Foodiebay? I said, I use it all the time. He said, so do I. Isn't it great? I said, yeah. He said, how come, you're not looking for investment? And I said, yeah, man. I mean, how silly of me. I should have looked at it. So I went to Network Solutions. I did a who is search on foodiebay.com. I found admin contact Dipinder Goyal. I did a Google search on Dipinder Goyal. I found an email ID somewhere. And I sent a cold email saying, dear Dipinder, how are you? Are you the same person behind Foodiebay? If so, well done. Can you, this is my mobile number, can you contact me? I'd like to meet you. And I put my name and my mobile number. So 2 दिन तो जवाब नहीं आया. So Dipinder thought I was a Naukri salesperson trying to sell him a Naukri subscription. So he didn't reply. Then he did a Google search on my name and he said, Arey, and he called me up. When he figured out who I was, he called me up. Okay, and I said, I want to meet you. Are you looking to raise money? He said, yes. I said, are you in conversation with anybody? He said, yes. He said, I have a verbal offer from somebody. It was a bulge bracket VC firm. I said, come and see me. Right? And he came and met me. And I asked him a simple question. ये idea कहाँ से आया? Where did you get this idea from? And he told me a nice story. He said that I was working in Bain and Company after IIT. Right? Now Bain में 50-60 लोग थे, 50-60 people there. Mostly young, mostly male, mostly single. They would not get food from home. Office hours were long, consulting tha. Therefore, you invariably had 2 meals a day in the office, lunch and dinner. There was a cafeteria in the office that would not serve food, but you could bring your own food and eat it there. Now, to make life easy for the team, for the people working for the staff, the admin guys had collected the delivery menu cards of roughly 70 or 80 restaurants that would deliver to that location. But Dipinder said, at lunchtime there's a long line. It takes me 20 minutes to access that file. I can't take it to my desk. It's a shared resource. After I get it, I have to decide in 2 minutes. I call them up after half an hour. the food comes, takes too much time. I'm hungry. I've got deadlines to meet. It's too much of pain. He came in one Saturday and scanned the menu cards, that whole file full of menu cards, and he uploaded them on his personal page on the office intranet. Right? And within 2 days, the IT infra guy came to him and said, "Boss, what have you done? How come 95% of the in-house traffic is going to your homepage?" He said, "That's when the penny dropped." And I realized that aggregation of menu cards got value. So he went out with his boss's permission on weekends and began to gather menu cards from restaurants. When he had 800, he launched Foodie. So Delhi alone, 800 menu cards, 800 restaurants listings, launched it, traffic going to come, added Bombay, Bangalore after he quit his job. And now he had a Foodie going and getting traffic. One of the visitors was me. Right? And I figured that, listen, if this guy can get traffic without advertising, and there's real value here because I use it, I know. इसका कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. Let's put in a small sum of money and see what happens.
Interesting. Great. So, Sanjeev, one of the key questions is like we've seen a lot of IPOs happening nowadays, right? Last few months, and this week itself, I think had 5 to 6 IPOs. What does it mean? Like, is it like a bubble, or this is what India was ready for all through last few years, and now we are entering into
the stock market is booming right now. To some extent, it is because of excessive liquidity. The $4 trillion the Fed has put, that has found its way around the world, right? And therefore, that is something which is part of the reason, right? But when markets are booming is when IPOs happen. We've always seen it. Will the market correct? Markets always correct. They go up, they go down. When will it correct? I don't know. By how much will it correct? I don't know. Right? You just run your business. And when it's time and the market is accepting your IPO, you go public. If it's right for you to go public, if you want to go public.
Unlike previous times when we had seen so many IPOs, this time there's a lot of tech or internet or digital representation in the companies who are going IPO.
Well, that's in the pipeline. It's not yet happened, but hopefully, markets stay buoyant, it should happen.
And why, Sanjeev, do you think that that's a natural thing, or is that something unexpected?
No, you see, these are companies that was invested in first round in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. काफी समय हो गया है. Those companies matured. Policy Bazaar raised its first round from us in 2008. It's now 2021. 13 साल हो गए. Zomato raised its first round in 2010. अब 11 साल हो गए हैं. Similarly, Flipkart, which is talking about going public, it's been a while. Yeah. I don't know when Flipkart raised its first round, but would have been around 2007, 8, 9, I think. When did Delivery raise its first round? I think it's been a bit of a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are all companies that are maturing and have grown and are getting to profit that are now ready to go public.
So all the tech companies came up last 7-10 years were when they built from startup.
There may be some newer companies also. I'm not saying these are the only ones, but I think there's enough maturity in the system that is throwing up companies that are capable of going public.
This looks exciting times whenever we talk about companies, startups. सब लोग यही पूछते हैं कि we have seen so much tech. India has been a representation. The technology engineers. When we go abroad, if you're an engineer, people just see you with respect. And now that is all converting into big companies, becoming public, giving opportunities for people to be a part of those companies. So I think people are just excited by the fact that so many brands, so many companies that they've used the services of, and now will be available for them to buy the shares of. So it's
correct.
Yeah. So one Sanjeev question is is a very futuristic question is, when do you think India will see its first $1 trillion company? And do you think that company is already founded, or it could be just some other company that'll come up and
$1
build?
billion. What's the so I don't really follow the stock market that much. Which is India's most valuable company? Is it TCS or Reliance? Which is the
Reliance right now. Yeah,
yeah? And what is the market cap in terms of billions of dollars?
it'll be 1 lakh crore plus. So it's
No,
huge.
no, it's more than that. It's probably 6, 7 lakh, maybe. I don't know. So look, I think it's a while. $1 trillion is a long time. $1 trillion is companies in the US reached $1 trillion about a year ago, year and a half ago. Okay, so it'll take us some time. It's a big number. So look, I'll tell you. Fundamentally, your companies cannot, to some extent, to a large extent, it's the size of your own economy. So if we are 1/7 the size of US in GDP, right, and a fraction of China's, whatever that fraction is, it's hard for us to have a company that is as large as the largest companies in these two economies. It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's, I think, a fundamental truth. So when the Indian economy gets really large, is when you get $1 trillion company, which means you've got to grow at 7%, 8%, 9% as an economy for 10, 15 years on the average, for us to be large enough to say we've got $1 trillion company or getting there.
Okay. And Sanjeev, what do you think can go wrong for India, or where can we fail? Because things look good from here on. People have been talking about emerging country, but do you see any failure points might come up?
So I think, look, in 2021-22, you get great growth. In fact, I believe this 11% is an underestimate. It could be much higher, it could be 13, 14, 15%. Right? But really, the issue is going to be what happens 2022, April 2022 onwards. If you can sustain your growth, right, then I think you're in business.
And Sanjeev, people talk a lot when they talk about you. They talk about Naukri, Zomato policy, and all the successful things. But I'm sure there must have been some failures on the way. You tried. I mean, something didn't work out. So any you talk.
The easiest answer to that is the number of companies that I said no to, which have gone on and succeeded. I said no to Flipkart in their pre-series A without even meeting them. Okay, I said no to Ola, the pre-series A, after meeting Bhavish. I said no to Taxi for sure in the pre-series A after meeting them. I said no to, I think, Lenskart, if I'm not wrong. I said no to Snapdeal twice at 28 million. Mm-hmm. I said no to, was it Big Basket? I forget now. So I said no to many companies that are going to become very valuable. Okay. And the reason why I said no to these companies is I would meet them, I would look at the business model and then say, I can't figure out how and when they'll make a profit. Now, we were right in that conclusion that it's going to be hard for them to make a profit and take a long time to come because they still haven't made a profit, many of them, right? Mm-hmm. But they have become very valuable, so we would have made a profit. So lesson for me is never mind the ones you miss, as long as the ones you do are good, it's okay.
Okay. So don't look at hindsight, don't look back.
No, learn from hindsight, and figure out if you want to change your methods. Right? But don't lose sleep over the ones you've missed. You missed, too bad. Are the ones you've done good.
Great. I think that's a learning for a lot of our young audience. Because day in, day out, we keep regretting about the things that we could have done. And if they become your lessons, then I think that's the way to look forward. So Sanjeev, on that, like who or what you consider your greatest teacher in life?
So look, there's no one person or experience. It all adds up, and I have no one role model. But I have 100, 200, 500 people I've learned from. Right? whether it is my teachers and my classmates in school, whether it is my parents, my brother and sister, whether it is my friends, or very importantly, in my first job after college. I think, just as a child learns the maximum in the first 3 or 4 years of his or her life, right? I believe the first 3 or 4 years of your career, that experience sets your work ethic for the rest of your life, right? And therefore, in your first job, it's really important that you're working in a place where there are really smart people, where you're learning a lot. Okay? Because where you're imbibing the right work ethic, the right working values, and the right competencies and capabilities. Because they are what will lay the foundation for your career. So I was very fortunate that I worked in a company called Lintas, straight after college for 3 years, where I worked with some really smart people, had some great experiences, worked in a high pressure environment where I had to stretch a lot. I faced a number of challenging situations, and therefore I grew and developed. So a number of experiences there. I think as an entrepreneur, I learned a lot. Right? The first 10, 15 years of being an entrepreneur, I continue to learn, but I think the first 5, 10 years were really instructive, where we were bootstrapping. I think bootstrapping was a great learning experience, although when you're going through it, it's painful. In hindsight, it's, you can talk about it as romance. But जब कर रहे होते हो, तो, it's not easy.
True. And what can a young entrepreneur do to get your attention as an investor or as an advisor, as a mentor?
Mail me.
Okay.
I get 1,000 emails a day. I might miss it. Okay, and if I miss it, I apologize. But then mail me again.
Okay. Yeah, that is simple. I think that's a subtle message I'm reading. Be persistent.
Yes. Look, I'm a little tardy with my emails. Okay, because I get so many of them, and my days are packed. But कोशिश करते रहो. I mean, I hopefully reply. I think I reply 70-80% time first time, but some I miss. If I miss, please remind me. Don't be hesitant.
Okay, great. This is very great, Sanjeev, talking to you on these questions. I have like few very quick questions. You can tell as you think about it. So, first question is: are IPOs overrated for a retail investor?
Well, you see, it depends on. You see, a good IPO is hard to get allocation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll apply for something, you'll get a tiny fraction of the allocation, but if it's a good IPO, you'll make a good pop. Now the question is, are you investing for the pop? Or are you investing for slightly longer term? And if the amount you want to invest is more than the allocation you get, then you're obviously buying in the aftermarket.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think they're overrated. I think if you're playing the pop only, then it's still a good way to make money. Right? But if you're investing long term, then you may or may not get enough allocation, and therefore you may have to get some now and get some in the aftermarket.
Okay. And so talking about the tech companies now, we're seeing a surge in the companies that are going like. Where do you see them in the 10 years or 15 years from now?
I think there'll be a big change in the public market tech company landscape, Indian internet company landscape, listed companies. For the longest time, we were the only one in India. Now there are 3 or 4. I think it'll be very good as a 10, 15, 20, 30 maybe, next 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
But then we become a category.
Yeah. What do you consider your biggest success?
Look, I think just persisting. Just persisting till you succeed. So 10 years bootstrapping, raise venture capital, market goes into a meltdown, 3 years more. So roughly a 14-year struggle. I think coming through that first 14 years, I think was an achievement in hindsight.
Yeah. And which is your favorite book or Any tweet
So,
or
unfortunately, my reading habits have declined. Yeah, I'm sort of hooked onto the small screen. So, आजकल किताबें थोड़ी कम हो गई हैं.
okay.
But a very good book I read, or two books, I think, Built to Last and Good to Great.
Okay.
I think they talk about strategic focus. They talk about drifting till you find your calling or your focus. They talk about once you get your focus, then you just pursue it. हमारे साथ ऐसा ही हुआ था. I drifted for 7 years, doing a whole bunch of small things. And in 97, we launched Naukri as one more seemingly small thing. But 98, we were convinced this is a big thing. And we stopped doing everything else and just focused. And we became an internet company. And till date, Naukri is the foundation for everything else because that's the one that makes the profit. It makes the money. That's the one, we went public on the back of Naukri. We got access to capital because of Naukri. And Naukri still remains our most profitable business.
Okay. And just a quick question on who's your idol when you were young, 25, and who's it today?
I don't have an idol. I mean, like I said, I had no one role model. I learned from 50, 100 different people. But there was always somebody to learn something from.
Okay. Well, this is great. I think there's a lot of all those things that you spoke. I think is a recording when we watch again, and a lot of people watch. I think every piece of it will be an inspiration in learning. So it's helpful. Now, I'm gonna take some questions,
Sure.
audience, and right mic chat window हमारी अंदर like people are so excited. Everybody's uh, asking so many questions. Some of those questions probably I'll not ask because they're asking about the IPOs that are going live. So
Okay, I think a couple of questions. Repeat the book name. Built to Last and Good to Great.
yeah, we'll also put these. So we have the recordings, and we'll put them also on the YouTube, Twitter, and different places. So I think it's something that people would want to watch again and again. Okay, so sir, I'll take few questions from the audience that I've got. So one is around top three sectors or ideas that one should stay invested in for next even 10 years.
देखिए, now that I've started investing a little bit in the stock market again, I've essentially gone for large caps. Because large caps give you, good compounding, right? So you select a few good compounders, and I do a SIP. That's what I do. I don't have stock market advice to give because I'm not a great stock market investor.
Okay. There's one question on Naukri itself. How do you see India's job market is growing, and what's your take on it for
So
next?
I think it's coming back nicely post COVID. काफी तक हद तक वापस आ गया है. Of course, it's patchy, it's different across various sectors. And if you go into a second lockdown, there's a second surge that's happening right now in several
Yeah.
states, then it could change again. But I think quarter three turned out to be, quarter one was terrible because of lockdown. Quarter two was a reasonable bounce back. But quarter three was a very good bounce back, and quarter four is looking very good also for us in terms of hiring trends.
Okay. So there are a lot of questions. People are asking, what's your vision for the Ashoka University?
So it's not just my vision. I think it's a collective vision of all the founders, all the faculty. And the vision is to build a world-class liberal arts university and liberal arts and sciences university in India, and produce something that others will emulate and copy. So India needs 100 Ashokas. We can't do more than one. But what I always say is, सरकार ने पहले 5 IIT बनाए. बट जो इंडिया की आईटी रेवोल्यूशन हुई, the numbers came from a lot of the private colleges that set up after the IIT succeeded. Right? So the vast rank and file, the vast numbers of engineers that India produces are not from the IITs. They're from other colleges. The IITs में इतने ही हैं. But the success of the IITs got others to start engineering colleges. Can the success of Ashoka get others to move to the Ashoka model? If it can, and it's already begun, then it's great.
So there is a question coming in. I don't know if you answer that. The question is that do you think Naukri is overvalued or undervalued?
So I really can't comment on our own stock price. But देखो, markets in the long run will tend to find the correct level. Okay, so I always invest in stocks in a manner that I can stay for the long run. I don't play, I don't invest 1 month, 3 months kind of thing. Okay? So I have learned the hard way that it's good to invest in good stocks, quality stocks for the long run. So the mistakes I made in 1992, I will not repeat.
And that's a great piece of advice, I think, for everyone. Because when we start looking at the companies, probably this is one framework which will help us for long way. Great. Thank you so much, Sanjeev. This is very helpful for our audience. And I think thank you. Great. Thanks for taking out time on a Saturday. I know
Not
you're for the next engagement, but
great.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Harsh.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing. Please read the risk disclosure documents carefully before investing in equity shares, derivatives, mutual fund, and or other instruments traded on the stock exchanges.